What stands between you and the life that you know is possible? What I mean by that, I'm not going to define it for you, but somewhere deep inside, you know there's a life that's available, a way of living, a way of moving through the world that is more authentic, more fluid, more natural, more congruent, more in alignment with truth, with your deepest truth. Not with some set of principles that someone outside of you has concocted about dead people from thousands of years ago. I mean, a living truth that is thoroughly congruent inside and outside, such that you move through the world with spontaneity, with trust in yourself, with trust in your own instincts, without doubt, without second guessing yourself all the time. You know that's possible. Like everybody, I think, knows this is possible to some degree. So what stands in the way of that? What's going to get you from here to there? Really two things. And I think both of them are critical. One is insight, and I'll talk about what that means. One is a deep and thorough and ongoing exploration of emotion and sensation. That's pretty much it. I know that's very simple, but I think that breakdown really covers it. The real issue is how much most people don't realize how much that exploration is going to take. How much sort of dedication, surrender. It's quite a thing to take this on, this awakening process. And both of those are the major aspects of the awakening process. You can't know ahead of time how big this gets. You can't know ahead of time how far this goes. You can't know ahead of time how challenging this will be. As I wrote in my book, it's the adventure of all adventures. It's truly the hero's journey, or the heroine's journey. They're not the two different things. That's what this is about. So, how do these two aspects come into play? The aspect of insight and the aspect of exploration of emotion and sensation. Insight, in my humble opinion, comes first most of the time. Or let me say it this way. If you resonate with this kind of directness, this kind of direct pointing, probably you're oriented toward insight. You're oriented toward awakening. You're oriented toward a shift in identity. You're oriented toward the realization that primarily an investigation of the nature of what you take yourself to be is where you have to go if you really want to get to the bottom of this. So I kind of put that first. Doesn't mean it's more important or less important or anything like that, but it's critical. Without the insight, forget it. You can do all kinds of work. You can do all kinds of emotion work and explore your thoughts and beliefs and emotions and sensations. You can do a lot of that work and it will help, but it will only go so far. A smart friend of mine one time, a Zen Buddhist, said it's the equivalent of if you've ever heard the phrase someone who is their own attorney has a fool for a client, or something like that. It's similar to that when we talk about trying to improve yourself as the ego will only get you so far. At some point, you're going to be your own barrier. You're going to be your own tyrant in a way, and that those ego structures are very slippery. They're very tenacious and flexible and intelligent. They have a lot of experience. They have experience you don't have and knowledge you don't have, in a way. So yeah, with that, and what gets through that, what addresses that issue is insight, in the way I'm talking about, the insight of awakening, the direct insight that goes beyond thought, beyond knowledge, beyond really beyond time and space. But ultimately, it's a willingness to investigate what you take yourself to be, not what you are or what you think you are or any of it. Not in a scientific way, not in a spiritual way, not in a conventional way. None of those ways of thinking you know who you are what I'm talking about. I'm talking about going beyond all of those. Yeah? Being willing to go because you can't really decide to go beyond all those, right? Because it would be all those things you're taking yourself to be that are driving the bus. But a willingness to investigate the nature of identity so thoroughly and so tenaciously yourself that you do propel yourself beyond those confines. And that's what we talk about when we're talking about identity. When we talk about awakening, we're talking about really plucking up that root of identity. And when that happens, it's a big shift. So that's what I'm talking about with insight. And there are deeper insights than that, but that's the big opening that's critical for doing really deep work. Then the deep work, the deep emotion work comes into play. Maybe not right away, but over time it will for sure. You'll start to be confronted with things that you didn't know were going on inside of you, demons you didn't know you were carrying around, delusions you didn't realize how much they were holding you into an experience of struggle, an experience of reactivity. And these are beliefs, right? These are, but these beliefs are often tied into reactions to emotions we don't want to feel, which are essentially sensations. And that's why I say this comes down to an exploration of sensation, really. But a lot of times you really have to do a lot of emotion work just to get down to that pure sensation experience. Once you're really in that pure sensation experience, you realize you don't even have to label the emotions anymore. It's not a matter of that. You have to be alert for reactivity, and you have to be alert for how you're affecting yourself and others around you. And that's critical. But at some point, it really becomes a direct exploration of sensation and a willingness to really let go of all of those narratives, labels, beliefs, et cetera, et cetera. And that second part, the willingness to let go, is directly tied into insight. Without insight, you won't be able to do that. You'll be identified again and again and again with different stories and narratives and this and that, and you'll be identifying with something, and then you'll react to it and identify with the reaction formation, and on and on. That's how identity is. It's very flexible. It's very accommodating to all the textures of experience. So the insight is critical. So hopefully you can see how those fit together. But the depth of exploration in the emotion body, in the shadow space, and in the sensations is endless. That's not something that comes to an end in a way. Insight is in a way something that, not the insight doesn't necessarily come to an end, but the insight will lead you to the end of something. That's deep realization we're talking about, anatta, but it does come to a sort of finality in a way that's important to navigate. And I have videos about all of this stuff, and I have playlists about all of it. But when I talk about direct insight, if you're interested in what I'm saying, if you're new to this or whatever, I'm talking about awakening. Start with either of my introductory series, which is a playlist. You can find all this in playlists. Introductory series or the Basics of Awakening, or both. The introductory series is very basic, but it asks some really interesting questions that a layperson might ask about awakening. Then the Basics of Awakening is really starting to set the stage. And then the third would be Awakening Approaches, if you're interested in waking up and you haven't had a shift yourself. If you're interested in emotion work, check out my playlist, Emotion and Shadow Work. And you can do that at any time, before or after, but especially after, if you've had a shift in identity, this will definitely come into play. So, yeah. There's a bunch of other playlists, but these are the ones that I would kind of point you to for this sort of basic dichotomy of the work you're going to do around awakening. So hopefully that's helpful. Let me know if you have questions.